Okay, everybody. Well, hello, and welcome. Well, thank you, Mr. Director. Thank you. Appreciate that. And hello to all you guys, and welcome to the Sacred Division. Well, appreciate that. Thank you for being here, Dolly. And thank you to all you guys for being here. All right. Well, here it is. It is Friday. If you're like me, you're like, oh, thank goodness. Thank goodness it is Friday. Hopefully you've had a pretty decent week. It's been very, very busy here. Now, if you've never joined us before, I just want to let everybody know, that way you kind of be aware of what's going on. I run the show in many different platforms. So again, for those of you who are just joining us, you will see that I am addressing this computer, and you will also see that I'm addressing this computer. I'm running the show live on TikTok with these folks here. And I'm running the show live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and I think Twitch. I don't know where else. KGR, of course, KGR ADB radio, but I'm also running it here. Okay. So just bear in mind that I have two different computers running at the same time. And also there's a lot of people asking questions. So trust me, I'm not ignoring you. I promise you, I'm not ignoring your question. It's just there's so many people asking me questions and on Messenger, and they're sending me on via Twitter and Facebook. I can only get to so many questions. So just bear that in mind, that it's not because I'm ignoring you. It's because right now I'm looking at this computer. I'm not looking at this computer. And so, you get the point. So hello, everybody. Welcome to the Sacred Division. It is Paranormal Friday. So we finally made it. It's a time just to chill, to relax, and to have a really good time talking about the paranormal. Now, I got to tell you something. I have a really cool topic to discuss today, and I think you're going to like it. And we're going to get into that here momentarily. This stupid microphone is just driving me crazy today for some reason. There we go. So tonight, we're going to talk about a topic that I really like. And this topic is black-eyed kids. Now, I know some of you are immediately going to think, well, no, there's no such thing. That's ridiculous. That's just stupid. I get that. I understand the people who have, who are very, very skeptical. That's good. Skepticism is good. But there's a difference between, being skeptical and just being darn right ornery. You know what I mean? But I think to have a skeptical mind is a good thing. But I'm going to present to you some actual stories that have been documented from people who have claimed to have seen these, whatever these things are. Now, we can debate them all day long. Some people think they're aliens. Some people think they're demons. Some people think they're children. So there's a lot of theories as to what these things are. And we're going to discuss them, okay? Also, of course, I want to, our Mr. Producer, Bill, today is April 1st, and April Fools, as you know. But today is Mr. Producer's birthday. So happy birthday, Mr. Producer. And we certainly want to give him all of our love and thoughts. And it truly is his birthday. That's not an April Fool's. And when he said today's my birthday, and I thought, well, happy birthday. He said April Fool's. I thought, oh man, you got me. He said, but it really is my birthday. So I thought he was pulling my leg, but no, it's pretty cool. I mean, can you imagine? Like I was saying to him, like, can you imagine being born on April Fool's and say, hey mom, how you doing? April Fool's. I'm just gonna go back in. I'm just gonna chill out. It's just a little warmer. I'm gonna go back in. I mean, really, seriously, that would be that's. I'm telling you, that'd be very funny. But today is his birthday, and there we are. Also, I want to remind you that the show is also running on KGRADB.com. KGRADB.com. You can go there and subscribe. There's a lot of great paranormal shows. Make sure you if you're going to subscribe, put Bishop. Put that little Bishop there as your promo code, because you're going to get 30% off. Hey, that's pretty good. I mean, it's already, like I said, it's already affordable as it is, but really affordable. Also, and before we go into the good show, make sure you go to Bishop James Long, LONG.com, BishopJamesLong.com. Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Producer. And go to that website and go to the store link, and you can purchase your item. I do have the Benedictine bracelet available. I don't have a huge amount, but I do have some. And so make sure you get your St. Benedict is the patron saint for exorcists. A lot of people love that Benedictine bracelet. So we always run out because I don't order massive amounts. But make sure you go to bishopjameslong.com, click on the store link, and purchase your items. By the way, very cool. Very cool. You might want to make sure that you're paying attention very carefully this weekend, because I'm also have, and I love, I have brand new Benedictine necklaces. And I'm telling you, I love it. I love mine. I wear mine all the time. I'm telling you, this is but I'm going to have it hopefully posted this weekend. But I only have a select few of those. So I'm just giving you a heads up. For those of you who are watching it, you have the heads up now, but you got to go to bishopjameslong.com. Check it out probably Saturday or Sunday. Go to the store link and you're going to see that it's going to be there. But anyway, that's that. Okay, everybody? So anyway, have a drink, turn off the lights, and let's talk about the Black-Eyed Kids. You know, I'm telling you guys, how many of you, I'm just curious, and this is running for everybody who's in the chat rooms, whether it be a Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, and then, of course, TikTok. How many of you have actually experienced what you believe are Black-Eyed Kids? I'm just kind of wondering. And hello to all you guys. Hello. I'm just curious. How many of you have seen it? How many of you seen these Black-Eyed Kids? And if you can just say me, or I'm just really curious, because some people absolutely swear by these things. But how many of you have seen them? Okay, so some people are saying no, some people are saying yes. All right, let's see what is this. So if you've seen these Black-Eyed Kids, let me know. So you have. Oh, is it Chia? Okay. So there's some people who have seen these things. Thank God I haven't, but I believe. Okay. Nope. And I hope I never do. Yeah. All right. Anybody else? Oh, yes. Oh, Chia. I think it's Chia, or Lee Love says on TikTok they have. Okay. Who else? Okay. So there's quite a few people who've not. I did one Halloween trick or treat from Let's Scare You. Okay. Well, what are they? Well, that's the $1 million question, isn't it? So let's get into this so we can discuss what are these things and how can you figure out what are they? Okay. This is the only way to describe them. Black-Eyed Kids are exactly what it sounds like. They are children. And when you see them, they look like children. They dress like children. But when they walk up to you, there's something very, very different. Now, there's been quite a few people who have said that they have seen these things. So I saw this actually on PBS. So I want to read this to you. Listen to this. You're relaxing at home, and there's a knock on your door. You peer through a peephole, and you see a small child with their hoodie obscuring their face. So you can't see their face, but you know it's a child. You open your door and ask if they need help. But when they look up, you are staring into black, lifeless eyes. Now, I'm going to talk about one of my exorcisms that I performed. And I can tell you, I may not have seen what I would define as one of these things, but I have seen someone with black, solid eyes. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. Listen to this. It's not hard to figure out why these creatures horrify us so much. It's in their name, Black-Eyed Children, or Black-Eyed Kids, also known as BEK in the paranormal. They're modern monsters whose eerie and unnatural appearance and behavior inspire fear. Now, the unusual eyes are unnerving, but it's the age. And this is a website, so I'm reading what the website says, of these monsters that really amp up the terror. What is it about evil children that freaks us out so much? Well, Dr. Emily Zarka, and this is Monstrum. The first report of Black-Eyed Kid appeared actually in 1998. Texan reporter Brian Bethel wrote of an experience he had 2 years prior while he was sitting in his car near a movie theater. Now, Bethel claimed that his car was approached by two boys around the ages of 9 and 12 wearing hooded sweatshirts. One appeared as an olive-skinned, curly-headed young man, and the other a red-headed, pale-skinned, freckled young man. Now, Bethel opened the window and a crack, and the two boys asked for a ride and their mother's house to pick them up some money so they could see the Mortal Kombat movie. Now, to this day, Bethel recalls that when the second one of the boys spoke, he felt an unnatural sense of dread. He pointed out the movie had already started and they wouldn't make it back in time. But the boys began to push harder, saying things like they were just two kids and they didn't have a gun or anything. And Bethel describes their voices as mechanical and rehearsed. The strange experience culminated in terror when he realized each boy had black eyes, soulless orbs with no white showing at all. Understandably unnerved, he began to drive away, but one of the boys banged on his window and angrily cried, "We can't come in unless you tell us it is okay. Let us in." Bethel sped off, and upon checking his rearview mirror, he noted that the strange black-eyed children had completely vanished. In 2013, Bethel wrote that his strange experience with these children were originally shared in a private communication with a small group of friends on an email list that was leaked onto the internet. Now, he said, I couldn't find any evidence to the original document, but Bethel's story is undoubtedly the foundation of all BEK lore. And that's how an urban legend is born. Now, in eyewitness accounts and other stories, the childlike creatures are frequently wearing hooded clothing, although some versions claim they are dressed in strange outfits, and they have odd speech patterns and black eyes, and perhaps more importantly, they just don't act in a way that we think children should. And similar to some vampire legends, some people believe these are vampires. It appears that they must be invited into a private space. So this writer says, and to me, the creepiness evokes fairy, demon, channeling vibes. And though encounters tend to end with lasting effects, some people who have had run-ins with these creatures report nightmares and agoraphobia. Through the numerous interviews Bethel conducted as the story circulated online, others across the world began to speak up about their own supposed experiences with other black-eyed children. Now, England in particular, by the way, seems plagued by black-eyed kids. And they often serve as fodder or for tabloid magazines and newspapers. But like in 2014, when songwriter and paranormal investigator Lee Brickley was interviewed by the Brigham Mail about sitting in the Cannock Chase, England, the sensational story was quickly picked up by the British and international press. Brickley had been investigating rumored sightings of a black-eyed ghost in Cannock Chase, including one where a woman and her daughter were out for a walk when they heard screams and spotted a child wandering alone. And the mother ran up to catch it, but couldn't find the child. And when she turned back, a girl appearing to be 10 years old stood there with her hands over her eyes. She asked, "Are you okay? Why were you screaming?" The girl dropped her hands and revealed eyes, and the woman said they were completely black, no iris, no white. Startled, the woman grabbed her daughter, jumped back, and when she looked up, expecting to see the child, she vanished. Now, interestingly, Brickley also claimed that the girl, whom he calls a ghost, had been seen 30 years earlier, in 1982, in that same area, by his own aunt, something he wrote about in 2013 book, for those of you who want to know, UFO, Werewolves, and the Pig Man. Brickley claims that his aunt heard a child crying at night. And following the sobs, she came upon a girl about 6 years old who looked up at her with completely black eyes before racing off into the woods. Now, even a police, folks, listen to this, a police search for the child occurred, but it came up nothing. And the sightings of this particular female BEK in Cannock Chase may be connected to a real-life tragedy that influenced Brickley's identification of the creature as a ghost. You see, Cannock Chase made headlines in the 1960s as the site of one of the largest police investigations in British history. The search for the murderer of 3 local schoolgirls. Some say the black-eyed child of that area is the ghost of one of the girls. And it would make sense that a young female resident who grew up in those stories would believe that she had been seen something, even if it wasn't there. Now, as the urban legend of the black-eyed children evolved out of references to eyewitnesses' accounts of the monsters in the British and American press, their presence across media of all kinds exploded. Numerous YouTube videos claim to show evidence that these things exist. The BEK, the Black-Eyed Children, also gained notoriety and lore expansion through crowd-funded fan fiction texts and productions like Sunshine Girl and The Hunt for the Black-Eyed Kids. There's also the Black-Eyed Children and Black-Eyed Children Let Me In. That's pretty creepy. Now, the comic series BEK expands the monster's threat with the invention of a violent origin story where regular children turn into black-eyed kids if they murder their family. You heard me correct. This is actually on several sites too. BEK are such great modern folklore because they defy romanticized notions of childhood and the inherent goodness of children, ideas that have evolved over time. Now, their perception of children as innocent and weak, requiring constant adult instruction, both morally and physically, and it's a relatively modern invention. Prior to the Romantic period, children were largely socially insignificant, unfortunately, and there were background characters related to chores, familial duties, and little else. But with the progression of the industrial age in the late 18th century, as infant mortality declined and literature and philosophy regarded children, education grew, alongside increased scrutiny about child labor. To me, this is really intense when you see this thing going on and people are seeing these things. If you read more about this, it's intense. According to this, black-eyed kids are always trying to breach the border from outside to inside, from a public space with witnesses to a private, more solitary one. Their faces are obscured most of the time, their eyes unreadable. This particular urban legend seems to tap into something deeper. Now, we're genetically programmed to care for and protect the youngest of our species for survival. So when they are portrayed as sinister and dangerous, it is deeply unsettling. The world of black-eyed kids suggestions that if you care for children, you have to be careful. And if you ignore them, they will haunt you. I don't know. I can't. The whole idea of these black-eyed children and so many people, let me tell you something. I have met so many people in the paranormal field who absolutely swear that they have seen these black-eyed kids, that it's not an imagination, it's not imaginary, that they have seen them. And they would swear, they would swear on everything that's holy that they have seen these things. And I've met some pretty credible people, very credible. Look, I've been in the paranormal field for a long time. And I go to paranormal conferences and I speak to people. I've met people who are doctors and lawyers and police officers and military. I have met people from all walks of life. And I can tell you, people have asked me, Bishop, I've had this experience. It frightened me. I don't know what it is. I've had police officers come up and tell me privately, they said I would never talk about this publicly because people will think I'm crazy. But I know what I saw. I just don't know what it is. And they come to me and they say, what do you think? I'm telling you, sometimes it is terrifying. And you could see the animation. Well, thank you very much. Oh, that's beautiful, Chris. Sorry, Chris was offering a gift on TikTok thing. And for those of you who are offering TikTok, gifts on TikTok, thank you for doing that. I sincerely appreciate that. It's interesting. It's very interesting. Listen to this. For those of you who want to know a little bit more about the black-eyed kids, which I would imagine is most of you because you're here. Well, I want to share this this website with you because I found this website, VRBO, I believe. Yeah, VRBO. Listen to this is how it all started. And this was by Ann Hedges. Every Halloween, Texans get ready. We all do, sometimes for a trick or treat. by stocking up on candy, setting out pumpkins, touching up on the Halloween decorations. But if you've heard the stories of one terrifying folk phenomenon, you might be wary of certain trick-or-treaters, the black-eyed kids. There are dozens, the author says, dozens of stories circulating, each of them separate instances, and not just occurring on Halloween, but all of them follow a very similar pattern. Kids with completely blacked out eyes arrive at someone's home or vehicle. They knock on the door or on your window. They insist on let me in. It's cold out here. I need to come inside. I'm lost. Anyone who encounters them almost immediately begins to feel an overwhelming sense of dread. Besides blacked out eyes, these children, the reports are usually between 6 and 16, typically appear very normal. Sometimes their clothing is outdated. In extremely unusual instances, people have reported talon-like feet. Overall, though, they just look like normal kids. In a way, that's what's scariest about them. While it may not be their earliest sightings of all time, the earliest reported sightings that I just talked to you about was in 1996 and by Brian Bethel. He's a journalist. For those of you who need to know, he's a journalist. In Bethel's report, he describes a late evening out in his vehicle. As I talked about earlier, he had stopped in a parking lot near a movie theater to write a checkout. And he was so absorbed in this that he didn't notice two young boys approach his car. He didn't notice until the older boy tapped the driver's side window, and Bethel rolled down his window, and immediately a soul-racking fear, though he couldn't understand why. And the older boy said that he and his brother wanted to, like I said earlier, wanted to catch a movie, but had forgotten their money at home. Could Bethel give them a ride? And they assured him it wouldn't take long. They were just two kids. And they didn't have a gun, they said. And Bethel found the assurances unnerving and noted that the last showing of the film they wanted to see had already started. It would be nearly over by the time he drove them to get back. And in his recount of the incident, he stated that when he broke eye contact with them, his fear became all-encompassing. And it wasn't until he broke eye contact that their eyes became completely blacked out. And the older boy began to get frustrated when Bethel made excuses for not giving them a ride and said they couldn't get into the car unless Bethel said it was okay. After that, Bethel tore out of the parking lot. This guy is a reporter. He's a journalist. And you got to understand, journalists are very, very careful about what they write and report because obviously their credibility is crucial. So this journalist has everything to lose, nothing to gain by reporting this, because many people in his field would have immediately thought, oh boy, he's one of those people, and he would have lost complete credibility. Now, it's very easy to disbelieve Bethel's story. The internet has made growing new legends relatively easy with sites like Creepypasta, which is I don't like the particular site because it gives kids bad ideas, unfortunately. However, Bethel's story predates those websites. It wasn't until a story became more widely known that a lot of folks came forward with their own black-eyed kids. Some of them take place in Texas. There's some that's actually reported from 1974 and even 1950 in other countries. Well, thank you, Casey. They became such a popular phenomenon, whether real or purely web-based, that a movie came out about them in 2015. So supposedly the kids are more likely to approach people who already know about them. So on Halloween, as the trick-or-treaters wander by your doorways this year, keep an eye out for the soulless black eyes and that feeling of dread. And if you happen to encounter one of these otherworldly children, do not let them in your home. It could be costume, contacts, but it's better to be safe than to be tricked. I don't know. I tell you what, I've talked to investigators, paranormal investigators before, and these people are very credible individuals that I knew. They are individuals that would not make up things. They're very credible individuals, and they have told me that they have gone to places before, and that there were children at these places, and that a very eerie feeling came upon them, and they couldn't see their eyes. Now, I will tell you this. The Gates of Hell Cemetery, and I've talked about this many, many times, but I didn't see it, but I do know the person who reported it. So we were going to the Gates of Hell in Kentucky, which, by the way, we're the ones who named it the Gates of Hell. Because 2003, I was on the radio in 2003 when I talked about it. And it's a very small cemetery. It's not big. It's kind of out off the beaten path. But we were two cars. There was a car in front of us and then us. And it's an old dirt road. So it's a windy dirt road to get to the cemetery because it dead ends at the cemetery. And there's barbed wire on the right and the left of the road. The road's not big. It's pretty much, it's a one car road. You have to pull way over if someone comes, but there's nobody there. It's not going to be anybody there. It's no traffic. And we were going there, and the car in front of me, which was a part of the team, I noticed that they were stopping. It's like, what in the world? And we were a little bit a distance, not far, but a little bit. And I thought, why is he stopping? And I thought, well, because the road's not that great. And I said, well, there must be really major potholes. And he kept going, and then he turned around. And it's very hard to turn around on this road. And he turned around. He said, where are they? Now, everybody in that car kept saying, where are they? Where are they? I'm like, what are you talking about? Where who? The kids. Now these are people, these are individuals that they're very strong skeptics. So they're not type of people that sensationalize things. Where are they? So here's what happened. And this is what they said. And all of them saw this in the car. They were going down the road. What in the world was that? That was weird. They were going down the road, and they saw a little girl in front of the car. She was pushing somebody in an old rusty wheelchair. And this is what they saw. And she had a white gown on, and they couldn't really see who she was pushing in the wheelchair because it was in front of them. And so the little girl moved over just a little bit to the left, and she stopped. And they stopped because that's when they put the brake lights on. And because they didn't really know where this cemetery was. So they asked them, have you heard of they said Casey Cemetery. Have you heard of Casey Cemetery? Where can you know where it is? The little girl didn't say anything. And then they said, man, are you okay? Why are you out here? That you shouldn't be out here. And she said, we're trying to find the Casey Cemetery, but do you need help? And all she did is just point it forward. That's all she did. She didn't look at him, but it was an overwhelming, eerie feeling, they said. And it was a little boy that she was pushing in the wheelchair. They saw her and they saw the little boy. And they kept going, and they said, you know what? Children shouldn't be out here. It was late at night. It's out in the country. Well, and why is she pushing a boy in a wheelchair? So they turned around and they couldn't find him. It's like, where are they? There's nobody. I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't see any kids. And they couldn't have gone to the left or right because there was barbed wire fence. And I wasn't that far behind them. We didn't see it. But they did. And they were adamant. I have never in my life seen them that adamant before. They were really shaken by that. They saw something. No question. I have no doubt in my mind that they saw something. And at the Gates of Hell, well, it's interesting because people didn't know in the paranormal community back in 2000, 2003, 2004, they had no idea. They had no idea what this cemetery was because it's an old abandoned cemetery in Kentucky. So we had gotten contact. Family had found out about us, and they asked us to go and do a blessing on the place because, unfortunately, a lot of Satanists will go there and they do some things that they shouldn't do. And they asked us to go and bless this area because weird things were happening and they were hearing strange things. The locals were hearing strange noises. So we said, okay, fine. We did that, and we had an investigation there, and I did bless it. And all hell broke loose. That is one place that makes Bobby Mackey's like Disney World. And I'm not joking. Bobby Mackey, I would rather do Bobby Mackey's a million times with Ghost Adventures than to deal with the Gates of Hell Cemetery. That place is very, very dark and dangerous. Stay away from the Gates of Hell Cemetery. Stay away from it. And inevitably, people are going to go there. I'm telling you, don't do it. So we went there, all hell broke loose. That's where I got that growl. For those of you who don't know, I'll play it. It's just a growl. I'm not going to go into deep. Okay. So this is what happened. This was at the Gates of Hell Cemetery. We were there, and I asked a question, are you angry or are you friendly? Something like that. And I didn't hear anything. But when we got back in the car and we played it, we turned it up, that was an eye-opener. Listen to this.
Is there anyone here? Are you friendly?
Now, I want to make this very clear. We heard nothing, but we felt it was overwhelming. We all felt like this was not a good place. And that's when I said, okay, guys, it's time, it's time to go because something's not right here. And then we went on air the next day. I was on an all paranormal network, radio network at the time. And I said, I'm telling you guys, this is like the gates of hell. And then they said, that's it. That's how it's going to be. That's what we need to call this the gates of hell from now on. And that is how the gates of hell got its name. People in the paranormal never even heard of the gates of hell. And, but it's in Kentucky. But folks, please stay away from that. Please don't. I'm telling you, that is one place that I will not go at night. I will not go there at night. And it's not because I'm afraid. As an exorcist, I've seen some pretty crazy things, and I've experienced some pretty crazy things I've been doing this for a long time. But going there at night and doing an investigation, you're not going to get anything. There's nothing good that's going to come from that. Nothing good. I'm telling you, nothing good comes from that. But people tell me, but I want to experience it. And then when you do, what are you going to do about it? Call me and expect me to fix it? Doesn't work that way. There's no Band-Aid that I can put on this issue. So if you go to these places and you start investigating and all hell breaks loose in your home, you can't expect clergy to come sweep up the mess. That doesn't work that way because you've invited it. I can't change that. Do you understand that? So I can't take that away. So that's the problem. That's where it gets scary. And I told Zach this many, many years ago on Ghost Adventures. And yes, I'm friends with Zach. I speak to him. I think I like Zach. Zach is an executive producer. Zach he's the founder of Ghost Adventures. He pushes the envelope. And I told him, I said, you need to keep my number. And he has. I talked to him just the other day. I told him, you got to be careful because when you go to these places that are allegedly have demonic infestation, what are you going to do? When you say, is there anybody here? Can you make a noise? Can you do something? And all hell breaks loose. Now, for those of you who have that, you got adrenaline rush. You got to see it. You got to see it. And you found it. Yeah, you got it. You got the evidence. And you go on YouTube and social media blows up and it goes viral. Congratulations. But now you go home and you got a family. Now it gets real. Because you got kids. And you do anything in the world to protect your children. But now because you got a video that went viral and you got this evidence that's everybody's like, oh, did you see that? Did you see that video? Sure. Congratulations. But I'm going to tell you something. There is a price to pay for that video. You're going to pay a price. Because when you go home, now you have a demonic attachment. Why do you do that, Bishop Long? That's not fair. The moment you say, when you go to a place and you investigate, the moment you say, is there anyone here? Can you make a noise? Can you do something? That is invitation. You've given the invitation it needs. I have actually seen people, I dare you to do something. I dare you to, even Zach did this. And I told him, stop doing this. I dare you to do something. I dare you to push me. I dare you. You're not so tough because you think, you're puffing up your chest. You're Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm going to knock you out. Yeah, I'm not afraid of you. You're not provoking, friends. That's not provoking. Do you understand? Please, I've said this before. You haven't provoked. That's not provoking. And I've said this for 20 years now. You haven't provoked. You just invited. And it's a big difference. Big difference. When you start puffing your chest out, I dare you to do something. Invitation. The demonic is saying, well, thank you. That is what I needed. And then you go home. All hell breaks loose there, and you get the video, and it's just so exciting. But then in the back of your mind, now you're thinking to yourself, I got some great evidence, but I don't want this attached to me. Yeah, now it's sinking in. But you've already given the invitation. And it has attached itself to you. You go home and you have kids or a wife or husband, and all hell breaks loose in your home. All hell breaks loose. And it is scary stuff. Guys, I've told you this before. I don't charge. I have not charged in all the years that I've done this. Never once have I charged 1 penny. Not 1 penny. I go to throughout the years, I don't even know how thousands of homes that I have blessed. Thousands. And I'm telling you that what you do today is going to affect your tomorrow. So you could go out and do an investigation tonight. And is there anyone here? Can you do something? Can you make a noise? Can you push one of us? Nothing happens. And you're like, oh, this is stupid. Come on, I dare you to do something. Just push me. You see, it's reeling you in. It's like fishing, reeling you in. And it's still nothing. And then you don't think, oh, this is dumb. Nothing happened. And then you go home, nothing happens. But then about 6-7 months later, all hell breaks loose and you're like, what in the world? What just happened? You got to remember, demonic entities are very patient. They are very, very patient because time and space doesn't exist outside of death. Time and space exist only within this realm. So in other words, right now it's 7:38 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Well, they're not restricted by time. So our 6 months is a blink of an eye to them. You see, that's what you have to wrap your mind around that concept, that even 10 years from now, I've had cases where people did some really bad things when they were teenagers. They gave the invitation, like playing with Ouija boards or other things. They've given the invitation to communicate with this thing. And then what happens 15 years later, now they have a family and all hell is breaking loose in their family and the house, and they don't know why. It might have been 15 years, long years, maybe in your life, but a blink of an eye in the demonic entity's realm. So they're very patient. They wait at an opportune time. And then they say, oh, by the way, the invitation you gave me 15 years ago, I'm going to take the invitation. I accept it. You see, that's the frightening point. So you got to remember that if you're a paranormal investigator, or if you just want to go out and you want to investigate, just experience it. You have to remember that what you do today will affect your tomorrow. And remember, I've been in the paranormal now for 35 years. My first investigation was at Waverly Hills in Louisville, Kentucky, at Waverly Hills. And we're gonna get into your demonology questions and the exorcism questions. I've performed 30 exorcisms as of today. We'll talk about all that in just a second, because right now the first hour is the black-eyed kids. But if you're going out seeking these black-eyed kids, because a lot of people do, a lot of people actually find out where these black-eyed kids have, I don't understand, they actually find out where the a report occurred, and they actually go try to find them. Well, it's like, man, goodness. Yeah, I'll do a prayer before we leave. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I'll certainly do that. So listen to this. So I want to share some terrifying encounters that have been alleged. These are creepy. These are creepy. And get this. All right, this is from Thought Catalog. So I'm going to share this with you and share some stories, if you don't mind. So just bear with me for a second, because some of these stories are really, really crazy. And I want to read them to you. These are actual reports that people have reported about seeing these black-eyed kids. So listen to this, okay? Listen. Hold on for the questions. Hold on for the questions. Listen to this. It almost felt like a dream. I woke up to my dog, Lucy, barking. She was upright on the bed where my husband and I were sleeping with our 22-month-old daughter, staring at our door like an unknown stranger was out there rummaging around. I thought she was just freaking out over a house noise, and we've only had her for 3 months, and she was still a puppy. And it could have been anything: our roommate, a creak from the house settling, the awnings moving outside, and the breeze. I wasn't too concerned initially. So I decided the best would be to open the door and show her nothing was in it. Nothing was there. It sounds a bit silly, but is what we do with our daughter when she gets scared. And I figured it should work with a puppy too. I opened the door. She raced to the front door. She stood there snarling at the door. It was an angry, violent growl, and one that I've never heard make before. I looked groggily at her and opened the baby gate, blocking the doorway, planning to open the door and show her that everything was okay. The second my hand reached for the deadbolt, Lucy went wild. She started barking and jumped toward me, and when I touched the metal, she suddenly changed her temper. She whimpered, almost like she was afraid and backing down, and her mannerisms changed, and so did mine. I wasn't calm anymore. My heart was racing and sinking at the same time. I'd been flooded with a mixture of fear and dread. I looked through the peephole. I can't explain why I looked, but I did. Outside were 2 kids. One just a smidgen shorter than me, and it didn't look much younger. I'm 21, and she looked maybe 16 or 17. She was slender and pale. Her hair was a light shade of honey blonde, and she wore it long, about mid-back, with long, thin, blunt bangs in the front that covered most of her eyes. And she wore jeans, a light wash that's popular now, and a thin-looking olive-colored pullover style hoodie. She held the hand of a small girl who looked to be around 3 or 4, in the same style jeans and a button-down ivory cardigan. The smaller one looked at the floor shylessly, but had the same shade of hair tied back in a ponytail. She held a stuffed toy under her free arm, and it was identical to the one my daughter has, as was their style of dress. Had it not been for the feeling of overwhelming dread and fear, I probably would have asked these children in and given them some tea or hot chocolate to get them out of the bitter cold. Something about them seemed off. And at this point, I hadn't made any noise. I hadn't shushed the dog or grumbled, nothing. I hadn't turned on any lights. These kids had no indicators that I was at the door. But the older one spoke. She had a voice that was mature, confident, strong, no accent. She held her head tilted downward, and I couldn't see her eyes. She said, "We have to use your phone." I stood frozen in fear. How did she know I was there? She raised her head to face me directly, and that was when I saw her eyes. There was a reason I couldn't see them through her bangs before. They were black, midnight blue, or dark purple. They were otherworldly. She said, "Our mother is worried." As someone who's always been interested in creepy stories, I knew that she was the second she looked at me through the door. So I have never been one to believe in these things. As a staunch atheist, this person says, so this is an atheist telling you this story, and skeptic when it comes to the paranormal, I'd written off many a ghost stories from friends and family members eager to tell the tale. I didn't believe it. Still, I couldn't rationalize my way out of this. I was standing with nothing but a thin wooden door between me and a black-eyed kid. There was no questioning what was right in front of me. I did not answer her. Slowly and silently, I backed away from the door. Lucy, still cowering at my ankles, she kept talking. Just let us in or use your phone. I took another step back, and with that step, the tone changed. At first, she seemed polite. When I took that second step back, she became commanding, almost hostile. We're not going to hurt you. If we wanted to do that, we would have broken in. I'll ask again, may we come in and use your phone? Lucy snarled at the door, and I inched backward, though something inside me seemed to be slowly pulling me toward the door. It wasn't a physical pulling, so much as a subconscious need to go back and let them in. I go to my room, covered up the window, locked the door, sat there in dim light of the night light. I heard her call me back to the door once more, and then quiet. I didn't go back to sleep that night, and I haven't slept right since. I know from reading about the BE caves, can't just come in without permission. I know they haven't hurt anyone, but I still fear I'll be the exception. When I told my husband, he said it was just a dream. He keeps telling me to forget it. But this lingering feeling of sadness, this dread when the house is silent at night, this fear of a knock at the door, it tells me otherwise. That would be terrible. Can you imagine yourself being in this situation where you are, first of all, let me tell you something. Animals can absolutely, without question, they can sense when something is not right. They can. I've seen it. I have seen it firsthand. I've been in so many people's homes that have had demonic infestation, and there are certain parts where the family will not go to because they're so frightened, and there are certain parts where an animal. I have seen the animals. I have seen a big German Shepherd dog, and this is a dog that's been taught to protect and defend the family. I have seen a great big. I mean, this was one of those big German Shepherd dogs. Very obedient, very obedient. So if the master said, no, sit, heel, very obedient. But when I walked towards that basement and they try to get the dog to come to the basement, it would just whimper. I mean, it would whimper. But anything else, that dog would have jumped off and defended the family immediately. And when the family was going towards that basement door, the dog would just try to push. It was the way it would get in front of the homeowner, and like you could see, it was pushing the homeowner away from them going down the stairs, and it would whimper. I've never seen something like that, never. And when that dog, the hair on the back of this big German Shepherd dog was standing up. I mean, it looked like it was clearly pushing the owner not to go down those stairs. And the whimpering sound it made the owner kept pushing it, and it just kept even getting, that was intense. That was very, very intense. So there was something in the basement, because when I did the investigation, it was pretty rough. But that's what happens. Listen to this one. This is another black-eyed kid encounter from the bus encounter. So this person, by the way, this was anonymous, and they sent this in. And of course, I have to. There's one little word. Then I'm going to have to change it. But anyway, it says bus encounter. I was riding the bus back at home after work. It was about 1 a.m. The person says, I'm a security guard, often work odd hours. So I'm sitting there, and this guy gets on, sits across from me, and he was wearing a suit, had a briefcase, regular looking guy in his 20s. What struck me about him at first was he was chewing a cigar, not smoking it. You can't smoke on the bus. So I was just looking at him, and while he stared at the window and chewed his cigar, and all of a sudden he turned and looked at me. His eyes were pitch black, just as you would describe. He said, my heart starting to beat, and I felt my gorge rising, and I was starting to panic, and I had no idea why. I was just terrified of this guy. And then he grinned at me, and his teeth were all covered in tobacco bits and brown juice. The cigar clamped between them. I almost screamed, but instead I had the presence of mind to just get up and take the seat right behind the driver. I calmed down a bit after that, but I kept an eye on the guy, and he ended up chatting with some girl that got on, and they were still talking when I got off. I later convinced myself he was just trolling me, having fun with the pair of contacts. And I would say probably in that case he was, because most of the time you're talking about, again, black-eyed kids, they're between 6 and 16. That's what the reports are. Remember, they look like normal human children between the age of 6 and 16, but with pale skin, completely black eyes. And additionally, people who have been in close proximity to black-eyed kids report a feeling of unease that washed over them, while nothing about the children's appearance, aside from the eyes, genuinely frightened the people. They still report feeling raging from anxiety to terror to the presence. Now, some people also have reported seeing black kids that have talons for feet or other demonic attributes. But most sightings are seemingly normal kids. Now, black-eyed kids are also commonly described as wearing dated clothing or dressing in a manner that's not typical of a normal child of their age. Black-eyed kids also always ask for something. It is always something that involves being in closed quarters with you. And they will ask for a ride in your vehicle, to enter your home, to use the phone. Now, here's what's interesting though. There are no reported stories of what happens when you let a black-eyed kid into your home or vehicle. All stories come from people whose eerie feelings made them flee from the children and say, nope, you ain't getting in my car. You ain't getting in my home. Sorry. So the earliest sightings of a black-eyed kid, again, I said 1996, but there's actually one report in 1950. So it's very, very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, it is. It is crazy. You got to, I mean, when you, I went, anyway, it is nuts when you start looking at these things. Listen to this story. And then we're going to get into demonology in just a second. And again, I believe these black-eyed kids, I believe that they are not children. I believe that these are demonic entities. Listen to this. On March 17th, 2008, this person says, I had one and my only encounter with a black-eyed kid. Before my experience, I've never heard of anything to do with black-eyed kids. I was 12. I was sitting outside of a hairdresser in an old Chevy pickup waiting for my mom to get her hair cut. About 15 minutes had passed and I saw some kid walking back and forth along the sidewalk in front of my parked car. At first, I thought I recognized him as one of my friends from school. Interesting. So I banged on the front windshield until he looked up my way. It was not anyone I knew. At this point, I was not scared at all, not yet. The boy walked over to the side of my car and just stares. I think to let me, get a good look at his eyes and to freak me out. And let me tell you, I've never seen a black-eyed kid. You have no idea what to imagine. Pupils black as this night sky. The boy whispers, "You must let me in." And then I locked the car doors and ducked down in the space below the seats. And 5 minutes later, he was gone. When my mom got into the car, she told me a boy with black eyes had come into the hairdresser and I insisted that my mom give him the keys to the car. She refused. Can you imagine? No. By the way, it is the movie The Strangers. For those of you who have never seen it, I actually met the actor, the main lead actor of the guy of one of the Strangers, the lead actor of The Strangers in Strangers 1. And I met him at a conference and had him actually sign a mask that was actually used in filming. Maybe next week I'll show it because I don't have it with me. And so he signed the actual one of the masks that was used. And this is similar. This is similar to The Strangers. If you have not seen this movie, The Strangers is a movie that's really creepy. Because allegedly it combines urban legends with an alleged story that took place. So it kind of combines them where they're knocking on the door and they say, "Is somebody home? Can you come in?" That it kind of leads into that. You can't really see their eyes. And so if you've never seen it, do you do podcasts? But I actually do. I have this on Spreaker, Spreaker, Spreaker. So I'm actually running this live right now on Spreaker. You can go to Spreaker.com and I think type in Bishop James Long, and it'll take you to my my podcast page. But listen to this story. I don't know if I see. Can you imagine? Just imagine this for a moment. And this person here wrote in about their experience with black-eyed kids. What would you do? What would you do if this happened to you? This one time in early 2010, I was walking home from work and found myself escorting a young lady to her car. And she asked me to escort her, and hoping I'd talk her into a drink or two. I already had a few myself, the writer said. I'd get a number, or possibly get, talk to her later on that night, and maybe we can go on a date. I kept walking with her and was trying to at least coax her out of her, what she was worrying about, and she would only comment about some really creepy looking kids who were following her. Being where we were in downtown Seattle area, this could amount to nothing. So we kept walking and talking, and I kept looking behind us to see these kids were in tow. Nothing popped out of the ordinary. And then she grabs my arm really hard and whispered, "That's them." They were about a half a block in front of us, just standing there and looking at her. So I do the prudent thing to do, which was to cross the street and make sure I lock eyes with the big one. And I keep in mind, once I get the lady to her car, and I give them an earful about being a couple little brats for scaring a lone woman in a metropolitan area. I didn't get scared or anything, but I did notice something strange. They didn't break eye contact with me. Now, mind you, I didn't look like this kind of guy that you would want to mess with. Honestly, it's an unconscious front that this person says I'm a bit shy. My look reminds people of either a rough head or a bouncer at a bar. The black Tinker boots and Van Dyke mixed with the above don't make me look like a people person either. People break eye contact with me constantly, and these two kids didn't. He said that was a red flag for me. Finally got this woman to her car. She said things, and I made sure to tell her where the local police station was. He looked up. The kids were not there. I don't, again, you can think what you think about, but again, these are people who have reported this information, and I don't know about this. This is kind of very uncomfortable. Trick or treat, as you guys all know, Halloween is one of those things that a lot of people talk about, and the kids, it's Halloween, it's fun times, kids dress up. But this person said this really freaked me out. And this was during Halloween. She said, yesterday I noticed my neighbor hadn't put out his Halloween decorations, lights, etc. The past 2 years, I've lived next to him. He's gone all out for Halloween. I didn't know him well. He's younger, single, but I know he likes kids. And his brother and sister-in-law and their kids were always visiting him. And he plays with his 3 young nieces and nephews out in the yard. So anyway, I got home from work, was walking up my driveway, and I saw him outside and said something like, "Hey, man, you better get your Halloween stuff up, or on that house, or the house on the street's going to beat you for the best decorations." He kind of smiles sheepishly and said he's actually going out to keep his house dark this year and just put candy out. And I asked if he was going out of town. He said no. Something happened last year and really scared him. Now, I was concerned for my own safety if some weirdos were coming around our neighborhood, which is a pretty safe neighborhood with tons of families living there. So I asked him what happened. And he said last year he had his brother's family over, so they could trick or treat in the neighborhood since they live in an apartment complex that doesn't do much for Halloween. And he had a bunch of kids come to the door like always, and his family took off around 10:30. There were only a few trick-or-treaters, but by 11:30 they were pretty much done. So he was inside watching TV, and the doorbell rings. He grabs the candy bowl and says it's awfully late, but he heads over and noticing that it's a little past midnight, and that's pretty rude for trick-or-treaters to still be out. But then he noticed he hasn't turned off his light or his decorations. So the house technically is a beacon for the kids. And he swings the door open and is about to go boo or something to freak them out, but stops dead when he sees the kids on the door. He said one of them, probably around 13 or 14, the other around 16 or 17, both boys. They weren't dressed up, costumey, but he remembers the older one was wearing a flannel checkered shirt. He was immediately overcome with uneasiness, like opening the door was a huge mistake. They just stared at him. He noticed that they had really big irises and dilated pupils. He couldn't even see the whites of their eyes, so he figured they were contact lenses. He was frozen there holding the candy bowl like he couldn't slam the door in their face as much as he wanted to, so he nervously tried to smile at them, hoping they would break character and ask for candy or something. The younger one said they had gotten lost and needed to come in, use his phone. And that was when he closed the door more than halfway on them and said, "Nope, sorry." And the older one said something like, "Can we just wait in your house until our parents come get us?" But by then he was convinced that his life was in danger and these kids must be high on something or intended to rob him. And he just kept mumbling, "No, sorry, good night," as he inched the door closer and locked it. He told me he was really scared at that point that they were going to break in through one of the windows or something. But he looked through the peephole. They had turned to leave. He watched TV with the volume really low so he could hear any sounds at all. And he said he stayed up like 5 a.m. because he was too scared to go to bed and drop his card. And the whole time he's telling me this, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this sounds so familiar. Just like the black-eyed kid's urban legend. Then I thought, maybe this dude is trying to scare me because after all, he does have the Halloween spirit. So I'm looking at him and trying not to seem too gullible. So I'm like, man, that's really crazy. Sounds like the black-eyed kids. He just looks at me blankly. The what? Is that a movie or something? I said, no, but told him to go look it up online. Like an hour later, I get a knock on my door. And admittedly, almost jump out of my skin thinking it's a demonic child. It was my neighbor, and his eyes were freaking huge. He swears to me up and down that he had never heard of the BEKs before, and it's so similar to what happened to him. So while we talked a while longer, I told him that quite a few people probably know about the urban legend, and it's possible it's just teenagers with black contacts trying to freak people out in Halloween. But he said the fear he felt was so primal and came over him the second he opened the door for him. What do you guys think? After hearing some of these stories, oh, you're right. I mean, the people say, well, there really is no proof. We don't have any solid proof that BEKs exist. But we do have a lot of people who are reporting seeing these children, and these children are, that they get this overwhelming sense of dread. Here's what I do know. I had a case, and I've talked about this before. I know that some of you may have never heard of this. It was a young mom, and she had done things in her teenage years that she really shouldn't have done, and she kind of was on the darker side of life. But she kind of turned her life around, and she had a child, and he was a 4-year-old little boy. That was her pride and joy. Well, her little boy kicked the ball out in the street, and he got hit by a car. And obviously he passed. And this is actually one of my cases. And she was obviously distraught, as any mother would be, completely inconsolable. But 2 days later, her family contacts me and said, "Bishop Long, we don't know what's going on, but we need your help." And they explain the situation, and they look in on the little boy's room where she is, and she's sitting on his bed, and she looks like she's holding, like a 4-year-old child, kind of like this, and she's looking at and just singing the lullaby and laughing, smiling, singing his favorite song. Now, of course, immediately I think, okay, obviously this is someone who is truly in extreme grief. And we have to be very careful with this situation because, we don't want to feed into the psychosis. We don't want to feed into this grief. So we gotta tread carefully, very, very carefully. So we get involved in this case, and I wish they would let me, but the family will not let me release the picture. But we have I didn't want to make it known that I was taking a picture. So while she was in there and she was, singing and laughing and talking to him, the door was kind of open a little bit, and I creaked in just like this, and I snapped a picture. Now, the camera didn't go off or anything, so she didn't know I was even there. Let me tell you something. I have seen a lot of things before, but I have never seen this. It is clear that she was holding, there's a full body apparition of what looked like her son. When I saw it and the team saw it, we could see the entire silhouette of her son, even the clothing. It was unbelievably, very rare can you get a full body apparition. This is really rare. This was a full body apparition that we saw of her holding this little boy. But I zoomed in a bit more on the eyes. There were no eyes. So I began to provoke through prayer. That's provocation. And I began saying the St. Michael prayer. I began doing the Litany of Saints. I began praying the Hail Mary. And the activity began in the room, in the little boy's room, where she had a Jesus picture, and the Jesus picture, it looked like someone had just literally taken it off the wall and let it go and just shattered. I knew then, and the other things occurred that I can't divulge, that obviously this was not her child. So I had to perform the minor rite of exorcism. I also had to bless her, and she also made a confession because of the things that she did in her teenage years that were very dark. And so, and then we had mass at her home. This was, remember, when demonic entities will come at your most vulnerable. That's when they enter your life. So the things that she did in her teenage years, that invitation, nothing happened. Nothing happened up until she lost her son. And when she lost her son, that is when the demonic who accepted the invitation made itself known. That was a hard case. That was a very hard case because she obviously was grieving for her son, and then she had to grieve again. So we did get her some counseling, and she's doing well. She does have a family now, but that really, that was one case that was rough. That was really, really rough because, I don't have a degree in psychology. I don't have a doctorate in psychology. And so when you're dealing with somebody who's in grief, and then all of a sudden the whole personality changes, and then you have to talk to them and let them know, hey, look, this is a problem here. And now, and we had someone, because the person immediately got them help. That was rough. That was hard. But anyway, it was one of those things that you can't. No, we did not get a name from the demon. The only time that we command the demonic name is during the solemn rite of exorcism. So during the solemn rite, we command the name of the demonic entity, because once you have the name, then you can control the situation. Not only that, but once you have the name of the demonic, you know that the intellect and will of the demon is being weakened. So you know where you are there. You know where the stage is. There are 7 stages of an exorcism. So you know which stage you are in with the solemn rite. And so it was for her, it was very tough. So the minor rite of exorcism is different than the solemn rite. The minor rite of exorcism is when a demonic entity has infested itself within the home, and you begin to provoke through prayer, and you're forcing the entity to manifest itself. And then you perform the minor rite of exorcism. You do not perform an exorcism on a house. That doesn't exist. That's absolutely ridiculous. You bless a home. You perform the minor rite of exorcism on a demonic entity or malevolent spirit that has infested themselves within a home. Okay, so there's a big difference. All right. So, well, because once you have the name, then you know the hierarchy, because an exorcist should study demonology and angelology. You know the hierarchy of the demonic, and you also know, now it will always lie. In the beginning, it will always lie. But you're trying to, because remember, during an exorcism, the intellect and will of the exorcist and the intellect and will of the demonic are at battle. One will win, one will lose, because the person's intellect and will that is possessed has already been eradicated. They can't fight the demonic. They can't fight it off. They're at a weakened state. So the intellect and will of the exorcist and the demonic are at battle. Now, the demonic will always say, Satan. It'll always give multiple, demonic names to try to frighten you, to try to throw you off. You can just continue the rite. The rite is repetitive. It's a repetitive prayer. You just keep doing it over and over and over and over. You keep doing it. It's just a constant over and over. There's no conversation. There's no such thing. It doesn't exist. I don't have a conversation with the demonic. Nope. There's nothing that I need to know from the demonic other than its name and the time of departure. There's nothing else that I want to know. I don't want to have a conversation with it. You shouldn't. You should never have a conversation with the demonic. Never. There's no reason to. Because the demonic will never, ever tell you the truth until its intellect and will are at such a weakened state that it can no longer fight. Then you have control. Once you have control, then you have the expulsion stage. But that sometimes that could take a while. That's not something that can take. It's not something that can happen, in a matter of 20 minutes. I mean, sometimes it takes quite a bit of time. All right, and thank you very, very much, Debbie, and those of you who are offering TikToks, gifts for the ministry. I certainly do appreciate that. Thank you very much. But the black-eyed kids, I got to tell you something. I do believe that these black-eyed kids, I don't believe that they are children. I do not. I absolutely am convinced that these are demonic entities. Listen to this one story, and then we're going to get into your questions, your demonic questions, and your paranormal questions that you might have. Listen to this. When I read this, I thought I got to share this with you guys. And thank you very much for the gifts. I appreciate that. This person said this incident took place about 13 years ago. I just moved to a new city with my wife. We were small town newlyweds from the Midwest, and we moved cross country to one of the biggest cities in the Southwest so I could attend graduate school. Being naive and new to a city living, I habitually answered the door without a second thought. Never again after this. The first thing that should have tipped me off to the peculiarity of the situation was the fact that someone was knocking at 6 o'clock in the morning. The second thing that should have dawned on me is this kid had to reach over a rather tall patio gate to unlatch and open it. So the knock at the door was startling. My wife and I were getting ready for work, a pretty normal routine. And the moment I opened the door, I was overtaken with an inexplicable sense of fear. And to this day, I can picture him. Teenager, average height, average build, knee length, black leather coat, short black hair, and sunglasses. The sunglasses at 6 a.m. struck me as odd, and even more odd, he was eating an apple. He was very polite and asked if he could come in, warm up. I said no, closed the door, and slid the security chain in place. A moment later, another knock. I opened the now chained door. Before I could speak, he asked again if he could come in and warm up. No, I replied, and attempted to close the door. Before the door could shut, he put his hand out, stopping the door on its hinges. He looked directly into my eyes, still wearing his glasses, and said, "Can I at least get some ketchup for my apple?" "No," I replied, albeit a little confused. "Get the heck out of here. My wife is calling the police." And he takes a moment to let this information sink in, lower his glasses, revealing eyes as black as obsidian, and says, "No, you won't be calling anybody." At that moment, I forced the door close, locked it, called out to my wife. She is scared, hiding in the bedroom. I tell her to call the police. Our phones are not working. The cell phones are not working. So, all jacked up on adrenaline, I rip the curtains back to look out the window next to the door. He's gone. Absolutely no trace of him. I go on the patio, check the gate. It's still latched from the inside. That was messed up. I think to myself, as I turned to enter the house, I noticed a half-eaten apple lying on the ground. Okay, that would be creepy as heck. I mean, remember, the patio door was latched. See, this is, this person says I'm home alone. Seriously, I have gotten so many people, a lot of people would immediately dismiss this and say that it's just ridiculous. There's no such thing. I got to tell you, folks, I'm telling you, I have met people. I have met doctors. I have met lawyers. I have met police officers. I met people who are in the military and on paranormal conferences, and they come and they talk to me. They see the caller and they chat with me, and we discuss things. I look at them in the eyes when they talk to me and they tell me their stories. They are adamant. They are animated. They are sincere. You can tell. Look, when you've been in ministry for a long time, you get a pretty much, I guess, a spidey sense of who's telling you the truth and who's it's not that difficult to do. After you've been in ministry for as long as I have, you just you get that. I got to tell you something. These people were not lying. And I have had quite a few people come up to me and tell me their experiences. And some of these, it's very similar to what I've been talking about for the past, hour and 15 minutes. It's very similar. Sometimes they'll walk up to your car. Sometimes they'll walk up to your house. But every single time, in every case, they will ask you, "Can I come in?" They will ask you, "Can I come into your home? Can I come into your car?" Every single time. Do a Q&A, most of the coming. Yeah, I'm more than willing to do that, to ask the Q&A. So please feel free to. But I wanted to share this these Black Eyed Kids with you, and share these stories, and you can kind of go from there. Well, that's a good question, Michael. Actually, there's been reports even in 1950s. Now, the official reports that have been actually written down was in 1996 by a journalist who experiences. And that's the actual official written documented case. But there have been cases from the 1950s where people claim this, but it wasn't official, it wasn't documented like, journalism or anything like that. But yeah, it's kind of, it is. Oh, Jordan says there's a movie on Hulu about it. They stalk a family on a road trip in an RV. Yeah, Jordan, what is that movie called? Is it it's an actual Black Eyed Children movie? Oh yeah, I would like to know that. That's kind of crazy. Yeah, that's Aaron Grace is asking, well, what happens if you let them in? Right now, there has been no reported stories of what happens when you do let them in, whether or not your car or your home, and that's primarily because there's an overwhelming sensation of dread. And every single case where people have told me, and remember, I've done paranormal conferences for years, and I meet people from all over the United States, and they come to me and they tell me this stuff. But in every case, they will tell me, I felt this overwhelming dread that something wasn't right. Folks, that is the feeling of a demonic entity. You don't need a psychic. You do not need a medium to tell you that a demon is present. You do not need it. You know it. It is overwhelming and it is intense. And you know. And in every single one of these cases, they describe this. I tell paranormal investigators who talk to me all the time about their equipment, and I'm thinking that's great, but I'm telling you now, if you ever investigate, number one, you got to know the dangers. There are dangers involved with investigation. Number two, you also have to realize that without even knowing it, you can accidentally invite. And if you're using equipment, I'm telling you now, the best equipment that you can possibly use is your sixth sense. We all have it. When you go into a place and you investigate and something is telling you something isn't right, turn around. Do not go any further. Turn around and walk away. In the seminary, we were taught this: never act with a doubtful conscience. You may allow an evil to occur. What does that mean? You go into a place, you want to investigate. You see something on television and you're like, oh, I want to do this. So you bring your digital recorder, you have some friends, you go into a location, but you have that, your conscience is telling you something's not right here. Something is not right. Don't go any further. Turn around. But you still do it. And then all hell breaks loose and somebody gets hurt. You acted with a doubtful conscience. So you allowed an evil to occur, which someone got hurt. So never act with a doubtful conscience. You may allow an evil to occur. Again, that's sixth sense. People call it sixth sense. I call it your guardian angel. So when your guardian angel says you need to turn around and you need to go home, don't push the envelope. Just don't do it. Please don't do it. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Jordan. I appreciate that. I'm going to write that down because I'm going to check this out. They come knocking. It's called They Come Knocking. And did you say that was on Hulu, Jordan? I believe it's on Hulu. And so I'm going to check that out maybe tonight if I have time. But it's there's a movie on Black Eyed Children called They Come Knocking. And so I'm going to check that out. But this is pretty crazy. And I don't know. I gotta Hulu. Thank you very much, Jordan. Thank you. So when you see this stuff, and I don't know. I don't do it. I just stay away from it and don't mess with it. And when you understand, when you're doing paranormal investigating, you can truly have some major issues going on. And if you can accidentally invite, so don't just simply don't. Just stay away from that. Okay. It's also, Black Eyed Children. Santa Muerte. Santa Muerte is it's actually in the Gnostic Bible that you're referring to. And so I think that's what you're asking. It's primarily it's heavily involved, obviously, in folk, a saint who personifies death. But there you go. I don't know if that's what you're asking. I mean, we see this. I don't support I don't. But again, that it's also cultural as well. So you have to respect the culture too. We see okay, because there's a very, very, very big festival even on this. But I'm just not a big fan of the Saint Death. but again, it's also cultural as well. And so it's a skeletal female figure. And it's heavily devoted in Mexico, even in Central America, some places also in the United States. But it almost looks like almost like Mary, but like a veil surrounding it. But I'm not, again, she's in the Roman Catholic Church. The Santa Muerte is not acknowledged as a saint. As a matter of fact, if you're talking about the Roman Catholic Church, I think in 2013, they condemned devotion to Santa Muerte because I think the quote. Let me see if I have the quote. The quote. The quote is in the celebration, equating it to the celebration of devastation and of hell. And that is, of course, in the Roman Catholic Church. That's the official Vatican response of Santa Muerte in 2013. So, again, people can choose or to accept it or deny it, but that is what you have going on. By the way, listen to this, everybody. There is, and I don't know about this one, but for those of you who like it, okay. But there's a new horror channel. Have you heard this? There's a new horror channel, Scream Factory, will show uncensored, scary movies nonstop. So if you love, call me, I lost your number with my last phone. Yeah, you got to send me if that's for me, send me a message, Dave. Send me a message on Facebook because I can't really call you right now because I'm doing a show. But send me a message on Facebook. Okay, listen to this. There's a lot of horror fans out there. Horror film fans will be able to watch classic, scary movies anytime, day or night, with a new TV channel called Scream Factory TV. It launches April 15th. As an arm of the music and home movie company, Shout Factory, horror's sub-brand Scream Factory, the channel will air a mix of uncensored horror, thriller, sci-fi flicks of the past, plus movie marathons and other specials. Screen Rant is reporting. Now, you can watch a bunch of trailers as well. And it added every movie comes uncensored, ready to terrify, and then immerse yourself in snarling monsters, stalking slashers, terrifying aliens, and shocking moments that have haunted you for years. Stream and scream with a new channel that's so good it is scary. So, by the way, for those of you who want to know, movies on the docket so far: Bad Moon, Black Christmas, Carnival of Souls, The Cat O' Nine Tails, Chopping Mall, Class of 1984, Communion, The Company of Wolves, The Crush, Dark Star, Day of the Dead, The Exorcist 3, Forbidden World, Galaxy of Terror, House on Haunted Hill, Humanoids from the Deep, The Last Man on Earth, Magic, Night of the Demons, Night of the Living Dead, Nightbreed, Director's Cut, Nosferatu, Piranha, 1978 version, Silent Night, Deadly Night, Part 2, Sleepaway Camp, The Slumber Party Massacre, The Stepfather, Willard, Witchboard, and Witchery. So there you go. If you want to check it out, you certainly can. For more information, shoutfactorytv.com. Again, shoutfactorytv.com. No, they're not they're not a sponsor of the show. So I just pass on this information to you, and you can certainly either reject it or accept it. People ask me a lot, is it a good idea? Is it a good idea to watch these shows? Here's the deal. I do not watch Exorcist movies. I don't watch them. Number one, most of them are just junk, and it's ridiculous. Like Stigmata. Yeah, look, Stigmata is not a curse. So people who have Stigmata in history, it's not a cursed type of situation. People who have Stigmata are incredibly pious and holy individuals. These are not individuals who see it as a curse. So the whole movie Stigmata is just unbelievably stupid because there is no documented case of stigmata being seen as a curse. So that's why. And then, of course, some even exorcism movies, it's like, boy, that's just dumb. If you want to see a movie that I think is absolutely legitimate and as close to reality as you're going to get, The Rite with Anthony Hopkins is as good as it gets. I spoke to Father Gary Thomas on the show. Actually, once I interviewed him, and I talked to him about the experience because it's based on his life. He's an exorcist. If you want to really see what an exorcist goes through, what I love about the movie, it shows you what we experience through our eyes. And the exorcist experience, I love that. I just love that how they did it because it's very, very good. So I would definitely say The Rite is definitely what you want to consider looking at. But at the same time, look, here's the deal. People ask me, well, should I watch these movies? Folks, if you have a demonic infestation issue, you're not going to want to watch these movies. I have never had anybody go through a legitimate demonic infestation issues and then turn around and want to watch scary movies because they're living it. They're experiencing it. So that just doesn't make a whole lot of sense because that feeds into that negativity. But by the way, for those of you who like Skinwalker Ranch, I've not seen the first episode, but Skinwalker Ranch, it is returning for a season 3. If you have not heard, on the History Channel, again, for those of you who are fans of it, there are a number of notorious locations in the realm of the supernatural. And while some enthusiasts might look towards locations like Area 51 at Roswell, New Mexico, others look to Skinwalker Ranch in Utah. I would love to go there. I would love to go to Skinwalker Ranch. It's a focus of the History Channel's The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. The fan favorite series returns for a season 3 on the network, which is set to uncover a number of compelling mysteries about the locale, which is set to uncover a number of them, which will surely ignite all new questions among paranormal enthusiasts about what makes the area such a hotbed of activity. So anyway, for those of you who want to know, The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch Season 3 is set to premiere on the History Channel on Tuesday, May 3rd, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I would love to visit this place. I've heard so much about the Skinwalker Ranch. Like I said, I've never been, but I think it would be very, very cool to see this. Very, very cool. But I don't know if you guys want to, if you guys know something about this and you like it. Well, you do love the show. See, like I said, I've never seen it. Maybe I need to check it out because I've never watched it before. Do I believe in skinwalkers? Here's what I do believe. I have a friend of mine. He's a shaman. His name is Willie Windwalker Gibson. And he's been in the paranormal field for a very long time. And he absolutely 1,000,000% believes in skinwalkers. I have never seen one. So for me, the jury is still out because I'm a very skeptical person. There's a difference between being a pessimist and a skeptic. They're not the same thing. I'm skeptical until I see it and I can verify it. And I cannot explain it away logically. So for me, that's how but I have not seen one. So I don't know. Oh, you do? Okay, Kathy says, I don't think anyone can just go there anymore. You have to contact the owners or producers of the show. I would imagine so. So for those of you, if you're a Skinwalker owner, if you're a Skinwalker producer, contact me. I would love to come visit. Oh, by the way, let me pull this up here. I got plenty of time here. I cannot go into detail. I'm sorry. I'm not allowed to legally, but I will not be here on the 22nd of April, which is 3 weeks away. But we will play. However, we'll play, I think, another show in place of it. I'm going to be filming in Los Angeles. I cannot go into detail. When I can, I will let everybody know, and I'm very excited about this. This is gonna be pretty cool. But I'll be promoting it like crazy once we're allowed to. But I can't say anything else other than the only thing I'm legally allowed to say is this: I'll be in Los Angeles filming, and that's all. So on the 22nd, I will not be here. Okay, but we will be playing a show on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. One of the shows that we've already done. Okay, so just keep that in mind. By the way, this Paramount Plus, for those of you who like Paramount Plus, it unveils its first slate of UK unscripted originals, including series of big tech paranormal cases. I've seen some of the cases in the paranormal shows from the UK. Here's the deal with the paranormal shows. I think they're getting a little dull because you can only do so much. Did you hear that? Did you see that? I mean, you can only do that so much before it's like, okay, I've seen the show. All right. I've seen it. So I think the paranormal shows are going to have to start. They're going to have to do something different. They're going to have to, because if they don't, it's just going to die away. No pun intended, but I really do believe so. Yeah, I think they're going to have to do something. Here is an article. I want to share this with you. Definitely, this was one of the most important things. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that, Atlanta. Listen to this. This is from an article because it affects all of us. It affects you, and me. This is from Medical News Today. So this is a medical news journal. When are we really dead? Well, a new study has shed some light on that question. Again, this is from Medical News Today. What happens to the brain at the point of death has been a subject of debate for some time. Some people who have had near-death experiences, like me, report a phenomenon of their life flashing before their eyes. Didn't see that. In 2016, some doctors accidentally recorded a dying man's brain activity. He had cardiac arrest while undergoing a brain scan. The brain signals recorded just before and after the heart stopped are similar to those that people experience when recalling memories, and those recorded at the point of death in rats. So many people who have had near-death experiences report that their life flashed before their eyes. I did not have that. However, of course, it is impossible to determine if people experience this phenomenon routinely when they die. Health experts commonly consider that clinical death occurs at the moment the heart stops beating. But little is known about how long the brain remains alive, or at least how long brain signals continue to be sent after this. Now, a paper in the journal Frontiers in Aging Neuroscience, that's the name of it, analyzing a single case study that has shown brain signals continue for 30 seconds after the heart stops working. However, Dr. Jessica Hanna, assistant professor of cognition and neural systems at the University of Arizona, was not involved in the research, told MNT in an email that the study could not be generalizable to other individuals, as is reported findings from just one of the 87-year-old patient. Nevertheless, she said, it is striking that the brainwave patterns leading up to the man's death were similar to those associated with memory, dreaming, and other thought processes involving crosstalk between many brain regions. Now, a lot of people when it comes to near-death experiences will immediately say, no, it can't happen. It can't happen. No, I disagree. I know for a fact that near-death experience cases happen because it happened to me. And I've talked about this before. I saw my mom when she passed away. I saw her in 2015 when I was doing a procedure. But you can go to a website called NDERF, ND as in dog, NDERF.org. That is the world's largest website of cases that people have been presented, and it is ran by Dr. Jeffrey Long. Dr. Jeffrey Long is a medical doctor, and he is one of the world's leading experts in near-death experiences. Now, the naysayers will say, oh, no, that's just, they couldn't possibly have a near-death experience. The brain was still active. But here's the problem that they can't explain. The naysayers can't explain this. There have been cases where people were clinically dead. They left their body and were able to, they rose to the ceiling and they could see their body on the table. And they could also see certain numbers on top of the medical equipment, like the light shining down on the body. They could actually see it. And when they came back into the body, they actually told the nurse whatever they had memorized it. A3170, whatever, it's on top of the light. They would never have known that. They would never have known that. So those cases can't be dismissed. Those people, when it comes to things like that, there have also been documented cases where people were clinically dead and the family was fighting over what to do with the body, whether or not cremation would occur or whether or not they would bury the body, and they would be fighting outside. And that they actually left their body, went to their family, experienced and saw the fighting. And when they returned to the body, they immediately told the family, from now on, we're going to fix this. It's going to be in the will. This is what I want because I don't want you fighting anymore over this. They actually experience it. Though there are cases where people have experienced this. And again, the naysayers, all the naysayers, they cannot explain that away. Can't explain it away. I know from my experience when I saw my mom, she died in 2014. I saw her in 2015. And on the way back from the surgery room to the recovery room, I was screaming, I saw Mom. Now, I was still under anesthesia. You can't fake this. I don't remember it. But my sister was telling me, Jamie, you were screaming, you saw Mom. You saw Mom. Like I said, I don't remember that. But I talked to Dr. Long when I had him on the show. And he said, number one, there is a 0% chance of dreaming under anesthesia. So you were not dreaming. It can't happen. It's not even feasible. And the fact that you were screaming that you saw your mother from the operating room, which I did, when you saw your mother to the recovery room, tells me, as he was saying, as a physician, that you were still under the anesthesia. That could not have been faked. And I got to tell you, I know I saw my mother. She was absolutely stunningly beautiful, beyond beautiful. And that was a powerful experience. I will tell the story all the time because I want people to know that you don't need to fear death. I've never feared death, but after I saw my mom in 2015, she passed in 2014. When I had my near-death experience, that only amplified my faith. And I tell people about it all the time. Yeah, very, very briefly, because I know many of you who follow me have heard, but please indulge me just briefly a moment. So I had a procedure in 2015. My mom passed away in 2014. I was nervous about this procedure, and because I was just nervous about it. And it was a gastric sleeve surgery. And in 2014, my mom told me when she was alive, Jay, I don't feel comfortable with you having the surgery. Something's not right. So she kept telling me, I don't want you to do it. But she was telling me this the day before my surgery in 2014. So I said, okay. That morning, I called the doctor and I canceled. Well, that saved my life because at that time, I suffer from chronic cluster migraines, and I had been taking a lot of Excedrin migraine for my migraines, and I had, unfortunately, that caused tumors in my stomach. Had I had the surgery, I would have bled out. So that startled me. Not because I'm afraid of death, it just startled me. But in 2014, she passed away. In 2015, I said, okay, I'm going to try this again. I went with a doctor, and they wheeled me to the surgery room. Anesthesia, everything worked out fine. And then a horrible noise was behind me. And I opened my eyes. For some reason, I couldn't turn around. I don't know why. I just couldn't turn around. And it didn't even dawn on me that I was the patient. I looked at this man who was behind or to the side of me, and he was freaking out. I wanted to help him. It's like, dude, calm down. It's going to be okay. I really wanted to calm him down because he was so stressed. And that horrible noise behind me, but I couldn't turn around and see what that noise was. But again, it didn't dawn on me that I was a patient. And I knew there was a doctor. He was really stressed. And I was fully awake. I know what a dream is. I was not dreaming. I was fully conscious, aware. And the brightest light that I've ever seen in my life shined behind him, right behind him. A silhouette came behind him and walked up. One of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my life. Looked like an angel. Looked honestly like the radiating joy, the happiness, the peace that was exuding from this individual. No words can describe it. No words. Absolute beautiful. And at first I didn't recognize. I looked closer. I thought, my God, that's Mom. It was beautiful. The doctor was stressed. She worked in the medical field. She worked in cardiology. She placed her hand on his shoulder. He took a deep breath. Calm down. At that moment, he did something. He told somebody behind me to do something. I don't know what he was saying. For some reason, I couldn't hear. He was saying something. And that loud noise was going. It finally went off behind me. And then my mom looked at me. She smiled, nodded, and faded away. And of course, and then when I came to in the recovery room, Jennifer, my sister, was there. Jennifer, I saw Mom. Jennifer's like, Jamie, we know you saw Mom. You were screaming it from the operating room to the recovery room. You were screaming it over and over and over. You saw Mom. Everybody knows you saw Mom. And I described it to her. She's, I know you do. But it was true. So I talked to Dr. Long about this on radio. And he said, number one, no such thing as dreaming, 0% chance. Number two, the fact that your mom worked in cardiology tells me you had some cardiac event. And when she placed her hand on his shoulder, because she worked in cardiology, she was guiding him, comforting him. That loud noise going off behind you was because you flatlined. And when you flatline, it makes this horrible, really loud noise because it warns the anesthesiologist that you're in trouble. And he did something and it went off. And he said, the fact from the recovery room to the operating room to the recovery room, the fact that you were screaming you saw your mom, that couldn't have faked that. That's not possible. You're still under anesthesia. But I got to tell you, what I experienced was profound. And not only that, but when it was time to wheel me down out of the hospital, normally the porters do this. They hire just, porters who take you in and out. No, this was actually the nurse that was in the operating room. They had the operating room nurse. I don't know if she was a nurse. I don't know. I can't remember if she was the anesthesiologist, but I know she was in the operating room. She wheeled me down. And when I was in the room with the elevator with my sister Jennifer, I said, I want to know what happened. What happened in there? I saw my mom. I saw her. And I don't know if she was a nurse. What she said, sir, I can't discuss that with you. You need to talk to your doctor about the incident. That's what she said. And of course, I never talked to my doctor about that, but I discussed it, and he really didn't have an answer. I mean, I didn't go into great detail, but I know what happened. I mean, I know what I experienced, and I know I saw my mom. Yeah, Andy. Father Thomas is a Roman Catholic exorcist. Yeah, from the movie The Rite. Yeah, so I just it's one of those things. I pass that on to you. I got to tell you that the enormous joy that was in my mom's face and just presence it was almost overwhelming. The joy and happiness was almost overwhelming. It was a joy that I've never experienced ever in my life. Even on the happiest of my days, the happiest of my days, whatever day that would have been in my life, you have to multiply times 100 to even come close to match the joy that was in my mom's face. Okay. I want to remind everybody to please do yourself a favor and do me a favor. Make sure you go to the church's website as well, usocc.org. usocc.org. We have night prayer Monday through Friday. We'll have it tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern. I'd love to have you guys there with me. Would love to. Pray with us if you like. You can go to Spreaker.com/show/night prayer. There it is. Spreaker.com/show/night prayer. Night prayer is all one word. We're there Monday through Friday, and we'll be there tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And thank you very much. That's beautiful. The first time I've seen that. For those of you who've offered gifts on TikTok, I sincerely thank you very, very much for that. For those of you who go to my website, bishopjameslong.com, and you make a donation there to the ministry, thank you. You are helping. Again, I don't get paid as clergy. I do this 100% free, and I fund my own ministry. So without help from you guys, I can't do the ministry. Shannon Long 30, let me know if you're going live after this on TikTok. And you know what, Matt? Matt says, have you ever had an attachment after a blessing or investigation? I have had yes, after the gates of hell, very quickly. I was there, and me and a friend were driving home, and I looked over and we were talking, and I saw what I saw in the back. That startled me so much because I wasn't expecting it. And I pulled the wheel over very far and almost hit like a big old brick wall on the expressway. I slammed on my brakes because both of us saw a little boy sitting in the back seat, and he was just doing this. It was like 1890 clothing area, and he was just sitting right here, right in the middle, just listening to the conversation. It was not a fearful experience. I didn't experience a dread, but we both saw this little kid, and that I've never experienced something like that. Of course, then he vanished. But yeah, that was crazy. So for those of you who are listening, I got to run. Stick around KGRADB and make sure you listen for Andrea Perrin. Remember, my friends, as I always tell you, your value does not decrease based on someone's inability or refusal to see your worth. You're priceless, and never let anybody convince you otherwise. God bless. The Sacred Division has been brought to you by Bishop Long's online paranormal course. Learn demonology, angelology, paranormal studies, and genealogy. It's 100% online, and you learn at your own pace. Please go to www.bishopjameslong.com and click on the paranormal course link.